What's up, guys? It's James with the Elim-A-Dent. There's all this buzz right now about this Black & Decker glue gun, so I had to pick it up and see what it's all about. It's sitting in the middle. I've got two of my prototypes on either side of it. We got a Milwaukee over there with a 2.0 amp hour battery and a Makita with the 4.0. With the 2.0 Milwaukee, it weighs an ounce less than the Black & Decker, and it's a 0.5 amp hour bigger battery. The Makita's even lighter. They're the lightest batteries, but we're talking ounces, man. It's really not a big difference. So I'm just going to say weight-wise they're about the same, except when you stick the 4.0, obviously. 4.0, right around 2 pounds. Glue gun with the stick of glue in it and the battery is what I'm talking about. Fired them up. I got that one on the left is our first prototype where you can see it dripping. You can see where we've remedied that on the one to the right. Plus it's a different glue though, so the clear glues do have a higher tendency to drip. They got a lower melting point. I ran a stick of purple, now I got a stick of pink in there, so there might be a little bit of a mix. But the only thing I noticed so far that I like about the Black & Decker is the heat up time, and it's got good run time, but it's got good run time because it's only running at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I do not like that for the PDR glues out there. For all those glues, they have a recommended melting point, not melting point because it will melt much lower, but the optimized temperature for adhesion is somewhere in the ballpark from 365 to 385. We've played with all those. We're doing one more test, but this glue gun here is at 375 with our high setting, 325 on the low setting, which is exactly where this one runs. So we're probably going to end up sticking with that, but this has got a 60 watt heater. This has got 120 watt, and that's why it heats up so fast. So I'm looking to get some feedback from you guys. If the heat up time is a very important feature, then we're going to go ahead and do one more round of testing with a higher watt heater to see if we can just improve on the heat up time, because ours is taking roughly 5 to 6 minutes depending on what glue for it to be optimal temperature. This one does start leaking quick, but I find a little from 2 to 3 minutes it gets optimal temp, well, as high temp as it can get, which is 325. That's one reason why it hits its temp faster, because it's a lower temp gun, where this one's got to reach all the way to 375 versus 325. But let me just show you some little glue feeds here. So what I don't like about this is a trigger pull. It's really hard. You got to squeeze it really hard, and you could tell right there that it's not fully melting the glue. So I'm curious to see if you guys are still getting good pulls with this, good adhesion, because it is such a hard pull and it's just not melting the glue, in my opinion, properly. At least with this glue. Clear glues, Walmart glues, you know, Aero glue, even this gluestick.com glue, which is really good, probably be fine, but I'm assuming these higher temp glues, not so much. This trigger pull, nice and smooth. See how the melting point's much easier, or much higher. Globs a much more amount on there. So I mean, you could do many trigger pulls. That's all you would need. So that's on our high setting. I could show you low, but low is pretty much going to be closer to this melting point, but you'll still be able to ooze more glue out. It's got a much easier trigger pull, in my opinion. The only downside so far that we've got with our unit that I can see compared to this is heat up time. And the only other thing that I want to try to improve on, that's why I'm going to test the heater, the bigger wattage heater, is because glue output with these 12 volt guns, you know, if you're just really cranking on some glue, you know, you're not going to be able to fill multiple big Kiko tabs, because it's going to start to cool down. It's going to have a harder time keeping up, unlike, you know, Snap-on with the higher wattage heater, pulling more power. But it's a compromise of heat up time, glue output, temperature, and run time. So we're trying to find the optimal setting for you guys. So I'll just go over some basic features of ours. It's got master off on for power the gun off and on. This is our battery gauge. It's green when it's full power. When it gets low, it turns red. Depending on the battery you have in there, you get anywhere from 30 to 15 minutes left. It's a good warning. Then we got our high-low setting. So when that's on low, you got 1 light. When it's on high, you got 2. We put a 2.1 amp hour, 2.1 amp output, output for fast charging of phones, tablets, whatever. Click that on, turns on. So when you're not using it, you want that off. This is a 12 volt input, so bypass. You can bypass the battery, run it directly off, your large batteries or car cigarette lighter, whatever you choose. This is obviously real rough. This company is going to let us use their casings. We got them designed in internals for us. We'll be testing 2 different companies' internals. This will end up being a black casing with white trim where the orange is, so it will look better, look cleaner. It's nice and sturdy. It's lightweight. Pretty happy with it for the most part. As far as 12 volt glue guns go, obviously we're converting, the input is a lot higher, but the gun itself is a 12 volt gun. But we are testing our heater with 18 volt input for the high setting and 12 volt for the low. But we still haven't dialed that in exactly where we want it, guys. And you know, this one just came out and we saw how fast the heat up time was. I can't say enough. I'm super impressed with that. That they were able to get a super fast heat up time and have the runtime involved with it. But the reason is, even if you get a higher wattage heater, you know, it's not going to be using all the wattage when it's just idling and maintaining the temperature. But if you're really cranking that glue out, is when it'll really start to, you'll feel the runtime effects of that heater. So I'm going to do one more round of testing with the higher wattage heater. If it doesn't affect runtime too much and it really helps the glue output and the heat up time, then we'll decide to go that route. And I'd like to hear you guys' opinions. Is that a very important feature for you, or is it not as important? Is the heat up time not as important as, you know, just having good runtime with a nice melting point output? We got with Anson to set our high setting. All his glues, like I said, are within that range of 365 to 385, so that's where our high setting is going to be. It seems like the low setting, if you like this low setting, our gun's going to have this exact 325 temp setting on the low, and that'll increase your runtime greatly. On the high setting, we're getting roughly a little better than the Snap-on, right around that hour per amp hour range. But I noticed if you're in colder weather or you're really cranking a lot of glue out with that Snap-on, it'll suck a lot more juice. Where ours is pretty consistent at right about the hour per amp hour. On a 4 amp hour battery, we're getting right about 6 hours on low setting. Right around 4 hours, 15 minutes on the high setting. But that might change obviously with the heater, so that's what we're going to see, how much it affects it. There could also be some benefits of that. It's going to have a higher draw during heat up, but it's going to be pulling that harder draw for less amount of time. So that might actually improve heat up time. One of the things we're going to check. But this is what you guys are looking at. This is the Milwaukee. This is with the 4.0 Makita version. These are what we'll have coming out soon. This will be a lot prettier, just the prototypes. But man, I don't know if I just got a crappy unit. Let me look at that. Did it turn itself off? Oh, it turned itself off. What's going on there? But this glue trigger, I'm just not happy with this trigger pull. I mean, it is rough. It barely puts out any glue. I mean, I would assume your adhesion wouldn't be as good because it's not reaching its optimal temp. But I'd be interested to hear you guys' feedback on your actual glue pulls if you've got different guns to test if you're losing adhesion because of the lower temperature. I guess it's not that big of a deal because we are going to match the 325 on low, but it's mainly for the clear glues. They run really well on 325. You get a lot of runtime. When you go up to these higher temp glue sticks, you really want to be up in that higher range to get the maximum benefit of them. But thanks guys, interested to hear your feedback. If you have any other suggestions or ideas, please holler at me.